Well, hi everyone. We have this is the more from 13 on is what I'm going to work on with the video. This is a part you had a chance to do for yourself. And we can just kind of check answers as we go along here. So let f of x equal x to the fourth minus 3x to the third plus 5x minus 3. It says use synthetic substitution to find f of 5. Now, the instructions do say use synthetic substitution. There's other ways of getting to this, but we're going to follow the instructions. So I'm going to put 1x to the fourth, 1 for that, negative 3 for the coefficient of x to the third, 0 for the coefficient of x squared, because that's got skipped, the 5, and the negative 3. Bring down the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Add negative 3 plus 5, that's 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Add 0 and 10, and that makes 10. 5 times 10 is 50. Add, you get 55. 5 times 55, I believe, is 275. Negative 3 plus 275 is 272. So f of 5 is equal to 272. Okay, number 14. We are given that this polynomial, 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 7x plus 6, has a factor of x minus 3. We're going to use this to find the other factors. So what I'm going to do is divide this by this, but I'm going to use synthetic division. So if I'm dividing by x minus 3, I'm going to put a 3 there. Then I'll put the 2, the negative 9, the 7, and the 6 down. Bring down the 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 7 and negative 9 make negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. I get a 0 there. Now, the depressed polynomial, 2x squared minus 3x minus 2, is what we have here. We need to factor that. So I'm going to use just our one factoring technique. What times what is negative 4? Remember, you multiply the 2 and negative 2 together. And the same two numbers need to add to negative 3. I'm setting up a grouping problem for factoring. And I think you'll find that negative 4 times 1 and negative 4 plus 1 will do the trick for us here. So that's how I'm going to split up the negative 3x into negative 4x plus 1x. Bring down the 2x squared. And then the minus 2. Now I'm grouping. So I'm going to take the 2x, that's the GCF of 2x squared and negative 4x, and that would be x and then minus 2. If I pull the 2x out of negative 4x, I have minus 2, plus 1, and then times x minus 2. And then I'll take the front parts, the 2x plus 1, and multiply it by the common part, x minus 2. So these are the other factors. Now, number 15. Give the number of positive real zeros, negative real zeros, and imaginary zeros of the function. All right. Okay, I have this in the graph already. You probably will use Desmos on this, most of you. But you get your function in. I'm going to hit the graph button. Okay. Now, what am I seeing here? All they want is quantity. They don't want to know what they actually are, but I see a zero, positive zero here. The ones on this side, one here and one here. So I have two real zeros. Negative. I don't see any over here, any place where it's crossing. So 0. I need 4. I have 2 that I can see. The imaginary zeros are the 2 I can't see. Remember, we need to have the 4. It needs to match that. All right, number 16. Find all of the exact zeros of this. Okay, the first thing you do is you graph and get the real zeros. All right, I think I put this in. Okay, all sorts of stuff happening here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to just keep a tally of the zeros up here. -1, -2, -3, -4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I need 2 more at this point. So I'm going to keep using the zeros we have, like the -4 here, and go 1, -2, -8, 32, -384 to make a smaller polynomial, a depressed polynomial. Bring it down. -4 times 1 is -4. -2 and -4 make -6. -4 times -6 is 24. -8 and 24 is 16. That is -64. -4 times 16 is -64, and that's -32 when you add. And let me just check something here real quick. All right. I see what happened here. I wasn't going to get 0, so that was a cause for concern. If I don't get 0, then -4 is not a 0. So I checked and I forgot to put that negative there, so that's my problem there. So now -4 times -96 is actually positive 384, so that does give me 0, so that was the remedy there. Okay, our depressed polynomial, we drop it down a power. It was 4th power, we drop it down a power. X to the 3rd minus 6x squared plus 16x minus 96. Now, I've done the -4. I'm going to do the 6 now. I'm going to put it into the 1, -6, 16, -96, into this smaller polynomial. Bring down 1. 6 times 1 is 6. -6 plus 6 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. That's 16. 6 times 16 is 96. And that is a 0. So we're good with that. Our depressed polynomial, dropping it down from x to the 3rd, now this goes to x to the 2nd, plus 0x, I'm not going to write, plus 16. To find the other two zeros, I take this one, I'll set it equal to 0, and I'm going to solve. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. Got x squared equals -16. When I solve here, I'm going to take the square root and the plus or minus square root. So x is equal to plus or minus. Now the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of -16 is 4i. So I have 4i and -4i is the other two zeros there. Okay, and then there's 2 more equations to solve here. This is the u thing. So let u equal x squared. that means u squared is equal x to the fourth. So I'm going to replace x to the fourth with u squared, replace x squared with u. Okay, I'm going to factor this. Or you could use quadratic formula. I'm going to factor, is what I'm going to choose here. Two things that multiply to negative 54 and add to negative 3, right here. And I think negative 9 times 6 and negative 9 plus 6 is what we need to have there. Okay, so I've got u squared minus 9u plus 6u minus 54. I get that equal to 0. I'll take u times u minus 9 plus 6 times u minus 9. Alright, the front parts, these are the same, so that's good. That's good for factoring. U plus 6 times u minus 9 equals 0. U plus 6 equals 0, or u minus 9 equals 0. If I subtract 6 from both sides, I get u equals 6. I'll add 9 to both sides here and get u equals 9. Okay, but it's not u that we're after, it's x squared, or x that we're after. So now that we know, remember u is x squared, let's say that's a u, not an a. That looks even more like an a. Okay. Alright. Now, I'm going to get x squared equals 6, or x squared, negative 6. X squared equals negative 6, or x squared equals 9. Take the square root of x squared equals plus or minus square root of negative 6. This is x. This is plus or minus. I'm going to write, if you have a negative, I'll put an I out here and just leave that positive. X equals plus or minus I radical 6. The square root of x squared equals plus or minus square root of 9. So x is equal to plus or minus 3. Alright, so all of our solutions for x, I radical 6, negative I radical 6, 3, and negative 3. 4 solutions. It is a fourth degree, so that's good. Alright, solving this. The first thing you're going to have to recognize on this one is that 125 is a perfect cube. So we have a difference of cube. And if you look down here, we have the factoring that we can do. And the x minus 5 will be here. And then we do the x squared plus x times 5, which is 5x, plus 5 to the second power, which is 25. And set that equal to 0. So I have x minus 5 equals 0, or x squared plus 5x plus 25 equals 0. Well, this is the easy one to solve. Let's add 5 to both sides and say x equals 5. We got 1. This will not factor. We're going to use the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b. I got music going on. I shouldn't. 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 25 over 2 times 1. It's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of, this is 25, this is 100, that's negative 75. And that's over 2. Okay. 75, that's 25 times 3, which is 5 times 5. So I could circle those two. Well, I'm going to do this. Take these two out. And that's 5 radical 3. Now it's negative, though. So I'm going to go negative 5 plus or minus 5I radical 3 over 2. So 5 is one of the solutions. Negative 5 plus 5I radical 3, don't forget the I, radical 3 over 2, negative 5 minus 5I radical 3 over 2. There's my solutions. All right, guys, all set there.